Hello, I'm Rebekah Hayes, presenting today with my colleague Vicky Barnecutt. We are both research fellows on the True Echoes project and based at the British Library. Thank you for inviting us to speak about the project during today's session. Funded by the Leverhulme Trust and Bayes, True Echoes is a 3-year research project centred on the British Library's collection of Oceanic wax cylinders. These cylinders were produced by British anthropologists between 1898 and 1918 in the Torres Strait Islands, Australia, Papua New Guinea, Vanuatu, Solomon Islands and New Caledonia. These recordings are hugely significant as they represent both the earliest documentation of oral traditions in oceanic communities and the earliest uses of sound in anthropological research in the region. True Echoes is a digital reconnection project aiming to enhance both the visibility and accessibility of the recordings for the local and Indigenous communities from which the recordings originate. The project will also enable new understandings of the collections, informed by local knowledges and cultural memory, which are otherwise missing from the existing metadata. We also hope to establish interoperability with our oceanic partners. This will ensure long-term pathways for the sharing of materials, documentation and knowledge around collections of recorded sound relating to oceanic cultures. My role in the project is to develop these sustainable and reciprocal pathways. Vicky's role focuses on historical research and researching related museum collections and archival sources. The British Library team, led by Principal Investigator Isabel Clouter, is working in partnership with Oceanic national cultural institutions and the communities from which the recordings originate. Professor Don Niles, Acting Director at IPNGS, and Amanda Harris, Director of the PARADISEC Sydney unit, are co-investigators on the project. This presentation will provide an overview of the project's historical and participatory research stages and how this feeds into the development of the project's website. The website was originally planned as a research output to be launched at the end of the project. Due to the impact of COVID-19 and ongoing travel restrictions, the development was brought forward with a revised purpose and audience, a digital platform for sharing ongoing research findings with the True Echoes Oceanic partners. The website went live in December 2020 and currently focuses on the Malinowski cylinder collection, C46. Before discussing the website further, Vicky and I will provide an overview of the Oceanic wax cylinder collections and outline the project's research methodology.
Hello, I'm Vicky. The True Echoes project looks at 252 wax cylinders from 8 collections. These cylinders are stored in the basement at the British Library where, pre-COVID, we were able to inspect them individually. The collections came from a variety of sources. The majority came into what was then the British Institute of Recorded Sound in the 1950s from Cambridge as part of the Sir James Fraser collection. The others came in the 1980s from the Royal Anthropological Institute, the Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology in Cambridge, and the British Museum's Museum of Mankind. The oldest and largest collection comprises 135 cylinders recorded in the Torres Strait Islands and New Guinea by members of the Cambridge Anthropological Expedition to Torres Strait in 1898. We started our research with the youngest and smallest collection, the Bronislaw Malinowski 1918 Trobriand Islands Territory of Papua Cylinder Collection, known as C46. Malinowski was born in Poland, but he went on to study and then teach at the London School of Economics. He made 3 trips to Papua, and he took at least 72 wax cylinders with him, although as far as we know he only recorded 5. He described phonographic recording as one of his weakest points. We started off inspecting the cylinders and their boxes, and in conjunction with our partners at the Institute of Papua New Guinea Studies, we gathered information about the collection from every source that we could find. For some of the tracks, Malinowski had written the names of titles and performers on the side of the cylinder boxes. For this cylinder, C46-1399 for example, we were able to deduce that the second song is Rage Eru, performed by Tukula Bakiki. Tukula Bakiki lived in Omarikana, the village on Kirawina where Malinowski was based, and he worked closely with Malinowski. Malinowski took a number of photos of Tukula Bakiki. Here he is with his mother, wife and children. Malinowski did not transcribe the Raga Ewu song, but he did describe watching the dance, and he took some photographs of that too. We put together a research document and associated spreadsheets with all of the information gathered on the history of Malinowski's fieldwork and the recording context, on the genres of the songs, and on the subsequent history of the cylinders in the UK. Through this, we can both enhance the metadata and contextualise the recordings. The research document formed the basis of the material on the website, and most importantly will be used by participatory researchers in their work. Rebekah will discuss this now.
Participatory research is also key to True Echoes' work. Local researchers will visit communities from which the recordings originate to learn more about the content of the recordings and to identify contributors. This stage of research enables the project to consult directly with local communities to ask how we can best assist in sharing materials and reconnecting them with originating communities. Local communities will also be able to identify sensitive and/or sacred materials. By recentering local and Indigenous perspectives, True Echoes can represent and share collection materials both at the British Library and in partner Oceanic institutions in an appropriate and meaningful way. Both the historical and participatory research findings form the basis of the True Echoes website. The website is being developed outside of the library's existing systems. It includes not just metadata and audio recordings, but also in-depth research findings about the historical context of the collections and their value to originating communities today. The website is more interactive and includes a variety of images and interactive maps, which provide further information about collections and communities. A comment function enables users to further engage with digitised collection items and research findings. In turn, this will enable us to integrate Indigenous local knowledges and support the appropriate management of these collections. We are also considering how the website can be further utilised as an education or engagement tool within the True Echoes partner countries. The only current online collection is the Malinowski cylinder collection, although private pages have been created for additional collections. These are password protected. Only the British Library team and the relevant Oceanic institution has access. This ensures that collection pages can be developed privately with input from both parties, while also ensuring that audio-visual materials can be shared between them without violating rights restrictions. Although the web pages are being added collection by collection, one intention of the website is to provide multiple entry points to the collections. This is why we have prioritised locations and dates in the web page titles, rather than using British Library specific titles. You can see this on the page for the Malinowski cylinder collection here. Once further collections are added, we will implement an interactive map, which users can navigate to find collections related to particular countries or regions. Although the web pages are text-heavy, we have split the research into a variety of different sections that are navigable via buttons and headings. Interactive footnotes provide additional information and external links, preventing the user from having to keep scrolling up and down the page. A key advantage of the website over the library sound and moving image, or SAMI catalogue, is the ability to include related images from other institutions, including the British Museum, Cambridge's Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology, and, in the case here, the London School of Economics. The website provides a way to digitally reconnect these disparate collections to some extent. The website also includes interactive maps. These provide additional information on the locations where the recordist visited or where recordings were made. For collections where we have a clearer timeline, such as the 1898 Cambridge Anthropological Expedition to Torres Straits, we can illustrate the routes for various different expedition members using numbered pins. An embedded audio player allows the user to stream the recordings from each collection. The recordings on this website are governed by agreements between the British Library and identified representatives of the relevant heritage communities. The website's legal and ethical usage policy also outlines the ethical and permitted usage of the recordings. Metadata for the cylinder recordings is available via an expandable table. This structure is based on the British Library's SAMI metadata schema. This interoperability will allow the metadata on the website to be amended more efficiently throughout the project. The metadata can be sorted by selecting the table headings and can be searched using the box on the right. As well as the individual collection web pages, the collections can be explored via the Performers page. This includes descriptions of known participants and contributors to the wax cylinder recordings. Indigenous data collections can often lack metadata, especially names and information on provenance. In the original SAMI metadata, for example, the only named contributors are the British recordists. Correct attribution reinstates Indigenous voices within the collections and enables greater visibility and accessibility for these communities. Where possible, we have also identified and included photographs that feature the named contributors. In addition to the individual metadata tables for each collection, there is also a main cylinder index. This lists the metadata associated with all of the wax cylinder recordings included on the website. Again, the fields can be sorted and the metadata is fully searchable. This provides multiple points of entry based on what the user is looking for. The True Echoes website displays cultural advice notices, which have been drafted with and approved by the project partners. These notices support the appropriate use and dissemination of the cylinder recordings and corresponding documentation, in line with culturally specific usage and access protocols. For example, the website specifically alerts Torres Strait Islander peoples to the fact that the website contains images, voices, and names of deceased persons. The website may also include collection materials and descriptions that may be deemed secret, sacred, or sensitive, or have traditional protocols around who can access them. Users are also warned that the content and linked resources may include terms and descriptions that are outdated, culturally sensitive, or offensive. It is also planned for the website to be used by field workers as a tool during participatory research. However, Oceanic communities may lack equitable access to the internet, especially via laptop or desktop computers. This has meant they are typically not able to access the digitised wax cylinder recordings. The British Library Sounds website only includes some recordings from the Torres Strait Islands, and for recordings with the required rights clearances, access is only available on the site at the library. The British Library Sounds website and the library's catalogues are not optimised for mobile browsers. This makes it difficult to easily discover and access materials and information online. As well as the standalone website, True Echoes has worked with PARADISEC to develop an offline catalogue for the wax cylinder collections that will be disseminated via Raspberry Pi, a small, low-cost yet high-powered computer. PARADISEC had previously developed the Raspberry Pi to be used as a digital repatriation device, including in Vanuatu. The Raspberry Pi operates as its own web server, negating the need for existing internet access. The current version of the offline catalogue has also been optimised for use on smartphones, enabling greater accessibility to the collections for Oceanic communities. We hope to combine the advantages of both the True Echoes website and the Raspberry Pi by further developing the offline catalogue to bring it closer to a modified static version of the True Echoes website. By developing an offline version of the website using the Raspberry Pi, field workers would be able to more easily access resources and research findings during the participatory stage of the project. The True Echoes project is planned to end in summer 2022, with workflows and activities regarding research and metadata being developed as part of the project. Sustainability is therefore a key issue, concerning both the pathways for knowledge exchange between the British Library and Oceanic partners and related digital outputs. The team must consider how these activities and resources can be maintained beyond the end of the project. It's also important to note that whilst local communities will be involved in participatory research and in enhancing collection metadata, we cannot expect all local cultural knowledge to be shared with the project, and in turn via public outputs like the website. The next collections to be shared publicly will be the 1904 New Guinea Cylinder Collection, C62, and the 1898 Torres Strait Islands and New Guinea Cylinder Collection, C80. We aim to have these online during spring 2021. In conclusion, we hope that the project's ongoing historical and participatory research, as well as the development of digital resources such as the website and Raspberry Pi, will successfully increase the visibility and accessibility of these cultural heritage materials for the communities from which they originate. Thank you.